The city was made of stone towers and glowing roads, but inside those lights there was no warmth. In the dark corner of the alien market, a small child sat alone. Her skin was pale, her chest rose and fell with sharp, broken breaths. Every sound of air leaving her lungs was like glass cracking. She was an outcast. Her people walked past her. Some looked with pity, but most looked away quickly as if she was not even there. In their world, a weak child was seen as useless. Food, water, medicine, those things were for the strong. The elders had already spoken. This child would not live long, so why waste anything on her? They called her worthless. She had no name that mattered. No one remembered the one her mother once whispered before leaving her to fate. For many days she sat coughing, clutching her thin arms, waiting for the day her lungs would give up. But that day, someone different saw her, a human. He was tall, wearing a simple coat, carrying a small bag of tools and lights. He had come from far away, from Earth. He was not like her people. His eyes stopped when they found her on the stone floor. He did not look away. He did not hurry past. Instead, he knelt. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly. The child stared with wide, tired eyes. She could not answer. Her voice was broken by the air that would not come. She shook her head slowly, though the truth was yes. She was hurt in the deepest way. The human's hand touched her forehead, gentle, warm. He could feel the fever. He could hear the struggle in her lungs, and he felt something heavy in his chest, anger, sadness, hope. Behind him, two aliens hissed. "Do not touch her. She is nothing. She will be gone soon. Leave her." The human turned his head. His voice was firm. "She is not nothing." The aliens laughed. "You are new here, human. Do not waste your time. She was born broken. She is cursed. Best if she is left to silence," but the human ignored them. He lifted the child carefully in his arms. She was light, too light, as if she was only bones and skin. Her weak fingers clung to his sleeve, afraid yet desperate. He whispered, "You will not die here, little one." The people around stared, confused, even angry. Why would a stranger care? Why would a human choose to carry away what even her own people had thrown aside? But the human walked on, holding her close while her soft coughs echoed in the street. That night in his small room, he laid her on a bed. The walls were lined with tools, machines, and strange glowing glass. He checked her heartbeat, her chest, her blood. He studied everything he could. His face grew darker with every result. Her lungs were failing. They were not made to last. She would not live more than a few weeks. The human sat back, silent. He could let her go. He could close his eyes, forget her, and move on. It would be easy. It would be safe. But as he looked at the child's sleeping face, pale and weak, he felt a memory rise. He remembered Earth's history, times when children were born sick, when doctors said they cannot be saved. But humans had fought. They had built machines, created treatments, given second chances. Many children lived because someone refused to give up. He clenched his fists. His voice was low but full of fire. "No, she is not worthless. She will not die." The child stirred, opening her tired eyes. For the first time, she whispered, voice thin and weak, "Why? Why do you help me?" The human leaned closer. "Because every life has value. Because you deserve a chance." Her eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She had always believed she was nothing. But this strange human was saying the opposite. Could it be true? The human stood and looked at his tools. He knew what he had to do, though it was dangerous. Galactic law was clear. No species could change the biology of another. It was forbidden. Punishment was harsh. But without change, she would die. He whispered to himself, "Then I will build her new lungs." Outside, in the streets, whispers spread quickly. The human has taken her. He tries to fight nature. He will fail. But inside that small room, hope was beginning to grow. The child, once called worthless, had found someone who believed she was worth everything. And for the first time in her short life, she began to wonder, maybe I am not nothing after all. The alien child slept in the corner of the human's small room. Her breathing was slow and weak, each rise and fall of her chest sounding like the ticking of a broken clock. The human sat at a desk, his hands trembling as he wrote notes on a glowing pad. Strange symbols, sketches of lungs, and streams of numbers filled the screen. He looked back at the child. Her thin body seemed too fragile for life. The thought cut into him like a blade. If I wait, she will die. He pressed his hands against his face. Galactic law was clear. No human was allowed to alter the biology of another species. Interference was the word they used. The punishment was exile, sometimes worse. But when he remembered her frightened eyes asking, "Why do you help me?" he knew he could not stop. He whispered to himself, "Because she deserves more. Because no one else will fight for her." The next day he carried her outside. She clung to him as he walked through the crowded market. Whispers followed. "There she is, the broken one. The human is still keeping her alive? Foolish, dangerous." But the human kept walking. He needed rare materials, machines, and parts forbidden to ordinary people. The shopkeepers hesitated when they saw his human face. But his credits were good and fear made them sell. As he gathered glowing wires, filters, and energy cells, the child asked in her thin voice, "What are you making?" He looked down at her. His eyes softened. "Something no one has ever made before. Lungs that can give you a second chance." Her eyes widened. "But no one believes I should live." "Then let them keep their beliefs," he said. His tone was firm, full of heat. "I am not building this for them. I am building this for you." For the first time, the child smiled faintly. It was small, fragile, but real, but their peace did not last. One evening, a sharp knock shook the door. The human opened it to find 3 tall figures in dark armor. Galactic officials. Their glowing helmets reflected the dim light. The leader stepped forward. His voice was cold. "Human, you have been reported. You're accused of breaking galactic law." The human stood tall, his body tense. "I have broken nothing. You are using forbidden tools. You attempt to change alien life. Do you deny it?" Behind him, the child peeked from the shadows. Fear filled her small face. She pulled the blanket to her chin, trembling. The human's jaw tightened. He could lie. He could surrender. But when he saw her frightened eyes, he knew the truth mattered more. "I do not deny it," he said. "Her lungs are failing. If I do nothing, she dies. I will not let that happen." The official's voice turned harsher. "She is weak. She is nothing. The law exists to keep balance. You will abandon this project at once, or you will be punished." The human stepped forward, his voice sharp as steel. "She is not nothing. She is a child. She has the right to live. If your law does not allow that, then your law is wrong." The silence after his words was heavy. The officials stared at him, shocked by his defiance. Finally, the leader spoke. "You have until the next cycle to end your work. If you do not, we will return and you will face judgment." The door slammed shut behind them. The human stood in the quiet, his fists clenched. The child whispered, tears in her eyes. "Maybe they are right. Maybe I am nothing." He turned to her quickly. He knelt and placed both hands on her shoulders. His voice shook with fire. "No, listen to me. You are not nothing. You are worth everything. If I must fight the entire galaxy, I will. I promise you, I will build these lungs. I will give you life." Her tears fell, but this time they were mixed with a spark of something new. Hope. That night, the human worked without rest. Sparks flew as he welded strange alloys together. Glass tubes glowed faint blue as they filled with filtered air. His eyes burned from exhaustion, but his hands never stopped moving. The child watched from her bed, her voice faint but curious. Why do you care so much?" He paused, staring at the half-built device in his hands. His voice was low, heavy with memory. "On Earth, I once lost someone. A child. She could not be saved. I swore if I ever had another chance, I would not fail again." The room grew quiet. The child's eyes softened. She wanted to speak, but no words came. Instead, she closed her eyes and held the thought close. "He sees me. He truly sees me." As the hours passed, the human's creation began to take shape, a machine small enough to fit inside a fragile body, strong enough to hold life where life was fading. But outside the room, the city whispered. Rumors spread quickly. The human defies the law. He risks everything for the worthless one. Soon, the officials will come again. The human heard those whispers, but he did not care. His mind was fixed on only one thing: keeping his promise. He looked at the child, sleeping peacefully for the first time in many nights. He placed his hand gently on the machine, glowing faintly on the table. He whispered, "I don't care what they say. I will keep my word. I will give you life even if it costs me my own." And in that quiet moment, a promise stronger than law or fear was made. The small room was filled with the faint hum of machines. Wires glowed, glass tubes pulsed like veins, and the unfinished lungs lay on the table, waiting to be complete. The human's hands were blackened with grease and burn marks, but his eyes carried only determination. Behind him, the child lay on her thin bed, her breath uneven. Every inhale was a battle, every exhale a whisper of defeat. Yet her eyes watched him, curious, worried, hopeful. "You should sleep," the human said gently without turning. She shook her head weakly. "I want to see. If I die, I want to see you trying." The human paused, his chest tightening. Then he smiled faintly and kept working. The next morning, the sound of heavy boots shook the floor. Shadows moved under the crack of the door. A knock came, loud, sharp, final. The child sat up quickly, fear filling her eyes. They came back. The human placed a hand on the machine and whispered, "Stay calm." He opened the door. 3 officials entered, their black armor shining, their faces hidden behind glowing masks. Behind them, soldiers stood in the street, weapons ready. The neighbors watched from windows, whispering. The leader stepped forward. His voice was cold, mechanical. "Human, we warned you, yet you continue." The human stood tall, his hands clenched at his sides. "Yes, I continue. She needs this." The official's head tilted slightly. "You defy galactic law. You know the punishment." The child peeked from the bed, trembling. She tried to pull the blanket over herself, but the officials had already seen her. One of them hissed, "Why risk exile for that one? She is broken. She should have been left to silence." The human's eyes blazed. "Do you not hear yourselves? You speak of her as if she is less than alive. She is a child. She deserves a chance." The officials were silent for a moment. Then the leader spoke again. "You have one final choice. Abandon this project. Destroy your machine. Or face judgment when we return." He turned sharply and left, the others following. The boots faded into silence, but the weight of their threat remained heavy in the room. The human closed the door slowly. His heart pounded, but his face stayed calm for the child's sake. She whispered, "Maybe. They are right. Maybe I am nothing." Her words cut deeper than any weapon. He turned to her quickly, kneeling beside her bed. His voice was fierce, his eyes burning. "No, do not believe them. They are wrong. You are not nothing. You are worth everything. Listen to me." His hands trembled as he held hers. "If I must fight the whole galaxy, I will. I promise you. I will finish this. I will give you life." Tears filled her eyes. She had never been told such words before. No one had ever said she was worth saving. But this human said it with fire, as if the universe itself could not change his mind. That night, he worked harder than ever. Sparks burst, smoke curled, and his tired hands shook as he shaped the final pieces. But every sound outside felt dangerous. Every whisper in the street sounded like betrayal. The city knew. The officials knew. Time was closing in. The child whispered from her bed, "They will come again. They will stop you." He did not look up. "Then I must finish before they arrive." She was silent for a moment, then said softly, "What if it fails?" The human finally turned, his face shadowed by the glow of the machine. His voice was steady but heavy with truth. "Then I fail with you?" Her eyes widened. He meant it. He would rather share her fate than abandon her. Hours later, the room was quiet except for the faint hum of the nearly finished lungs. The human sat back exhausted, but there was pride in his eyes. The child reached out a thin hand toward the machine. "It looks alive." He nodded. "It will be. For you." She smiled weakly, then coughed hard, clutching her chest. Her body shook, her face pale. The human rushed to her side, panic in his eyes. He placed his hand on her back, steadying her. Her breaths came shallow and fast. He knew the truth. He had little time left. Outside, in the distance, engines roared. The sound of patrol ships shook the walls. Blue light flashed through the window. The officials had returned. The human looked at the child, then at the machine. Sweat dripped from his brow. "They are here," she whispered in fear. He tightened his grip on her hand. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. "Then I must be faster than the law." Boots pounded on the street. Voices shouted outside. The human turned to the glowing machine, his mind sharp, his body trembling with urgency. The child's weak voice broke the silence. "Why do you fight so hard, for me?" He froze for a moment, then leaned close, whispering words she would never forget. "Because you are my promise, and a promise must never be broken." Outside, the door shook under the soldiers' fists. The galactic law had arrived. Inside, the human worked against time itself, racing to finish what might save her, or destroy them both. The night was heavy with fear. Outside the human's small house, soldiers waited like wolves. Their boots struck the stone ground, their voices sharp, their weapons humming with cold energy. Inside, the human ignored them. His eyes were fixed on the machine glowing on his table, the lungs of steel, glass, and light. The forbidden machine. Every piece of it was dangerous. Its power came from human design but was shaped to fit alien life. Galactic law forbade such creations. To the officials, it was a crime. But to him, it was hope. The child lay on her bed, her breath broken and shallow. Her voice was no more than a whisper. "They will break the door soon." The human nodded but did not stop. Sparks lit the room as his tools worked fast. His hands were cut, his arms burned, but his focus never left the machine. He spoke without looking at her. "If they enter before I finish, they will take you. They will destroy this. They will call you nothing again. I cannot let that happen." The child's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to believe him, but the sound of boots outside made her heart tremble. What if it kills me?" The human froze for a second, then turned to her. His face was pale from exhaustion, but his eyes were steady. "Then I will die with you, but I will not let you leave this world without a fight." The soldiers' voices echoed through the street. "By order of galactic law, open the door." The human gritted his teeth. He turned back to the machine, his movements faster now, almost frantic. Tubes clicked into place. Wires hummed. Blue light pulsed through the glass chambers like a heartbeat. The child watched in silence, fear and wonder mixing in her small chest. The machine looked alive. Then suddenly, the door shook. A crash. Another. The officials were trying to break in. The human whispered to himself, his voice sharp with defiance. "Just a little more. Just a little more." The door burst open. 3 armored figures stepped inside, weapons glowing. Their masks reflected the flickering lights of the lab. "Stop!" the leader shouted. "Step away from that machine." The human stood in front of the table, shielding the forbidden machine with his own body. His voice thundered, "No!" The child gasped. The soldiers aimed their weapons, ready to fire. The leader stepped forward. "You defy the galaxy itself. Do you think your science is greater than our law?" The human's fists shook, but his voice was steady. "No, but her life is greater than your law." For a moment, silence filled the room. The officials looked at him, confused, almost shaken. No one had ever spoken to them like that. The child sat up, coughing, her voice weak but clear. He wants me to live." The leader's mask tilted. He replied coldly, "You should not exist. You are a mistake." The human's anger burned. He shouted, "She is not a mistake. She is a child, and I will not let you decide her worth." The soldiers raised their weapons. The human moved quickly. He grabbed the machine from the table, holding it tight against his chest. "You can kill me," he said, his voice like fire, "but you will not destroy this." The officials hesitated. They had orders to arrest him, but the glow of the machine frightened them. It was something they did not understand, something powerful. Finally, the leader lowered his weapon slightly. "One day," he said coldly, "your defiance will cost you everything." Then he turned and signaled the others. Slowly, they stepped back out the door. The boots faded into the night. The human stood frozen, breathing hard. Sweat dripped from his face. His arms shook from holding the machine. The child whispered, They left?" He turned to her, his face pale but determined. "For now. But they will return. They are afraid of what this means. That is why I must finish quickly." He placed the machine back on the table. The glowing chambers pulsed brighter now, ready, almost alive. The human sat beside the child. He brushed her hair gently from her forehead. His voice softened. "This will not be easy. The machine may work or it may fail, but it is the only chance you have." Her eyes filled with fear. "Will it hurt?" He smiled sadly. "Yes, but after the pain, you will breathe." She closed her eyes for a moment, silent. Then she opened them and whispered, "Do it. I want to live." The human felt his chest tighten. He nodded slowly. "Then we begin tomorrow." That night the city whispered again. The human builds the forbidden machine. He risks exile for the broken child. Soon, the law will crush him. But inside the small room, two hearts shared a secret hope. The human had chosen his path. He would fight the galaxy itself if he had to. The forbidden machine was almost ready, and the child once called worthless had made her choice too. She wanted to live. The stars above shone cold and distant, but inside that room burned a fire greater than law, greater than fear, a promise. The room was silent, except for the hum of the forbidden machine. Its glass tubes glowed with a faint blue light, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The human stood beside it, his hands trembling, not with fear but with the weight of what he was about to do. On the bed, the child lay weak, her skin pale, her breaths short and sharp. Every inhale sounded like tearing paper. Every exhale was thinner than a whisper. Her eyes were half open, watching him. "Are you ready?" the human asked softly. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. "Yet, I want to live." He took her hand, pressing it firmly. "Then trust me." The human prepared quickly. His tools were laid out, sharp silver blades, glowing needles, wires no thicker than hair. He sterilized them with fire and light. His every movement was careful, practiced, though his chest was tight with fear. Outside, the city stirred. Soldiers whispered, waiting for the order to strike. Their boots echoed in the distance. But for now, they did not move. They wanted him to finish. They wanted proof of his crime before they captured him. Inside, the human worked fast. He injected her with a soft sedative, whispering, "Sleep. Do not fear." Her eyes fluttered closed. Her chest rose, fell, then shivered. The human placed his hand over her heart. Still beating. "Too weak," he whispered. "Hold on, little one." The operation began. He cut carefully into her chest. The sight tore at his soul, but his hand stayed steady. Her damaged lungs, dark and broken, shivered with every failing breath. The forbidden machine hummed louder, its glow spreading across the room. The human connected tubes, replaced shattered pieces of life with new ones born of steel and light. His heart pounded with every second. Sweat poured from his face. His arms ached. Sparks hissed as metal fused with flesh, and then sudden silence. Her chest stopped moving. The human froze. His eyes widened in horror. "No!" "No, not now." He pressed against her chest, pushing, begging. "Breathe. Please breathe." Nothing, the room filled with emptiness. For a heartbeat it seemed he had failed, but the human did not stop. He grabbed two glowing paddles from his tools, pressed them to her chest, and sent a surge of energy through her body. Her small frame arched, then fell still. He tried again. "Come back. You are stronger than this." Her lips were blue now. His own voice cracked. "I made a promise. Don't make me break it." He shocked her again. This time her body jerked and a faint spark flickered in the machine. The glass tubes glowed brighter. A faint hiss of air passed into her chest. Then, her body gasped, a weak, broken sound, but real. The human's heart leapt. Yes. Keep breathing." The forbidden machine clicked, its rhythm stabilizing. The lungs inside her chest began to glow faintly, pulsing in time with her heart. She was alive. But the operation was not over. The human stitched carefully, connecting nerves and flesh to the new machine inside her. Every line of wire, every pulse of light had to be perfect. One mistake could kill her. Outside, soldiers pressed closer. Their leader's voice rang out cold and sharp. "Human! Time is finished. Step outside or we will enter." The human ignored them. His hands did not slow. "Not yet," he whispered. "Not while she still fights." The child's chest rose higher now. Her breaths grew stronger, though her body shook with pain. Her eyelids fluttered. She whispered faintly, half dreaming. "It hurts." The human leaned close, his voice gentle but firm. "Pain means you are alive. Stay with me. Just a little longer." The door rattled under heavy blows. Blue light from soldiers' weapons cut through the cracks. The human sewed the final line, his hands covered in blood and oil. The machine inside her chest hummed, steady, strong. At last he stepped back, his body trembling. He whispered, "It is done." But then, silence. The child lay still, her eyes closed, her chest quiet again. The human's heart stopped. His knees almost gave out. He pressed his ear to her chest, desperate, nothing. He shouted, his voice breaking, "No!
You promised me!"
You wanted to live? Fight!" He pressed down on her chest again and again. Tears burned his eyes. "I gave everything. Don't leave me now." The forbidden machine whined, its glow flickering. Then suddenly a deep breath filled the air. Her chest rose. Then again. Then again. The human froze, staring in disbelief. Slowly she opened her eyes. They were weak, watery, but alive. She whispered, her voice broken but real. "I can breathe." The human fell to his knees, shaking with relief. He covered his face, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, you can breathe. You live." The soldiers outside burst through the door. Their weapons were raised, glowing with deadly light. They expected to find death, failure, and guilt. Instead, they found a child sitting up, her chest glowing faintly, her breath strong and steady. The human stood in front of her, his arms wide, his face fierce. "She lives, and I will not let you take that away." The soldiers hesitated. Their law was clear, but what they saw challenged everything they believed. The child drew in a deep, trembling breath, then shouted with new strength, "I want to live." The words rang through the room, stronger than weapons, stronger than fear, and for the first time the galaxy had no answer. The room was filled with silence after the child's cry. Her words, "I want to live," still echoed in the air like thunder that refused to fade. The soldiers stood frozen, their weapons glowing but unmoving. Behind their helmets, none spoke. They had expected to find a dead child, proof of the human's failure. Instead, they saw the impossible. The human stood tall, his arms outstretched in front of her, shielding her fragile body. His chest rose and fell with exhaustion, but his eyes blazed with fire. "You see her?" he said, his voice sharp. "She breathes. She lives. You cannot deny it." The leader of the soldiers stepped forward. His mask glowed faintly as he looked at the child. Her chest rose with steady rhythm, powered by the forbidden machine inside her. The glow under her skin was faint but real. "This is a crime," the leader said coldly. "She should not exist," the human's voice thundered back. "And yet she does." The child looked down at her hands. They trembled, not with weakness, but with something she had never felt before. Strength. She touched her chest, feeling the machine's soft hum beneath her skin. Her breath came smooth and deep. For the first time in her life, she did not cough, did not gasp. Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered almost to herself, "I am alive." Then louder, facing the soldiers, her voice shaking but fierce, "You called me worthless. You left me to die. But he—" She pointed at the human, her small hand trembling. "He saw me. He gave me a chance." "You call it crime? I call it life." The soldiers shifted uneasily. Their weapons lowered slightly. The leader snapped his head toward them. "Hold your aim." Do not forget the law. But hesitation hung heavy in the air. These soldiers had been raised to obey, but what they saw was no ordinary crime. It was life itself, burning in a child who had been given up by all. The human stepped closer, his voice calm but strong. "Tell me, Commander, what is your law for?" "To protect life. Or to destroy it? The commander's hands tightened on his weapon. His voice cracked with anger. The law is balance. If every species changes another, chaos follows. And if law kills a child? The human asked. His voice was like a blade cutting the silence. Is that still balance? No one answered. The child stood, her legs shaking but holding. She took one small step forward, then another. Each breath steady, each movement stronger than the last. Her eyes locked on the commander. I was nothing, she said. That is what you told me. But I am not nothing. I am alive. I matter. The soldiers watched in awe. One by one, their weapons lowered. The glow of their rifles dimmed. The commander growled. This is an illusion. Machines cannot replace nature. She will fail. The human turned to the child, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Breathe, little one. She closed her eyes, inhaled deep, then exhaled with strength that filled the room. The sound was clear, full, alive. The human looked at the commander. Does that sound like failure to you? The commander's mask tilted, his voice colder than before. You will be judged. You and your machine. The council will not forgive. The human met his gaze without fear. Then let them come. But she will stand as proof. Proof that life is stronger than law. The soldiers shifted again. Some looked at each other, uncertain. Their training told them to obey, but their hearts wavered. They had seen something the council never wanted them to see. A miracle. The child walked forward until she stood in front of the commander. Her small voice carried across the room. You would have let me die, but I live. You think that is wrong? Then maybe your law is wrong. Her words struck harder than any weapon. For a moment, even the commander's hand trembled on his rifle. The human stepped beside her, his voice quiet but powerful. This is her second chance. You cannot take it away. Outside, the city had gathered. Neighbors, strangers, outcasts, they crowded the street, whispering. Some believed the human was a criminal. Others saw the glowing child and felt hope stir inside them. When the door stood open, the people saw her breathing strong, standing tall beside the human. Murmurs spread quickly. Impossible. She was broken. She lives. The whispers grew louder, turning into shouts. Not of anger, but of wonder. The commander looked out at the crowd, then back at the child. For the first time, his voice faltered. This will spread. Others will ask for the same. The law will collapse. The human answered firmly, No. The law will change. The commander's silence was long. At last he lowered his weapon. His voice was bitter. The council will decide. But know this, human. You have started a storm that cannot be stopped. He turned sharply, signaling his soldiers. Reluctantly, they followed him, their weapons lowered, their steps heavy with doubt. The child looked at the human. Her lips trembled, her eyes wide. They did not take us. The human knelt in front of her, placing both hands on her shoulders. His tired face softened, because they saw the truth. You are alive. You are worth saving. Her tears spilled, but she smiled through them. I never thought I would feel this, and what do you feel? He asked gently. She took another deep breath, steady and strong. Her voice shook with joy. Hope? The human closed his eyes, relief washing over him. For the first time, he felt the promise fulfilled. She had been given her second chance, but deep inside he knew this was not the end. The council would not stay silent. The storm was coming. For now, though, in that small room filled with light, a child once called worthless stood tall and alive, breathing the air of her new life. The news spread like fire. In the streets, whispers turned into arguments. In the markets, voices rose. Across the city, across the system, across the stars, everyone spoke of the human who had broken the law, and the child who now lived because of it. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a crime. And soon the human and the child stood before the highest power of the galaxy, the council. The council chamber was vast, shaped like a circle of stone and light. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in high seats, their eyes fixed on the human and the child below. Their voices echoed like storms in the air. This human has broken the sacred law, one cried. He dared to interfere with life itself, another shouted. He must be punished, a third hissed, but not all agreed. Some leaned forward, eyes sharp with curiosity. And yet the child lives, one said softly. Should we ignore that? The commander from before stepped forward, his voice sharp. He is guilty. If he is not punished, the law will mean nothing. The human stood tall, weary, but unbroken. The child clung to his hand, her chest glowing faintly with the steady hum of the forbidden machine. He spoke, his voice steady, carrying through the chamber. You call it crime. I call it life. She breathes because I refuse to let her die. Tell me, Council, what is the worth of one life? The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then voices rose again, harsh and cold. If one human can change life, soon others will try. Machines in flesh, this is dangerous. It will spread chaos to every world. The child stepped forward, her small voice trembling but clear. You speak of chaos, but I only wanted to live. Was that wrong? Her words echoed louder than the council's shouting. Every eye turned to her. Her hands shook, but she lifted her chin. You all called me worthless. You left me to die, but I am not worthless. I breathe. I feel the air in my chest. I am alive. If that is a crime, then your law is broken. Her voice cracked, but it carried strength greater than her small body. A ripple went through the chamber. Some leaders lowered their eyes in shame. Others clenched their fists in anger. The commander hissed, "Child, you do not understand. The law is bigger than you." The human stepped beside her, his voice like fire. No law is greater than a single life. If it demands death of the innocent, then it is not justice. It is cruelty, the council murmured. The balance of power shook. One elder, old and wise, spoke slowly. I have lived through many wars. Always the law was meant to protect life. Perhaps we have forgotten that. Another shouted in reply, if we allow this, the galaxy will fall into chaos. The elder looked at the child. And if we forbid it, then we kill hope itself. The chamber filled with noise, a storm of voices clashing like thunder. The decision could not be agreed. At last, the high speaker of the council rose. His robe shimmered with power. His voice was heavy with finality. The council is divided, but one truth cannot be denied. This child breathes. She is alive, and that fact will echo across every world. He turned to the human, his eyes were stern. You will not be executed today. But know this, your act has broken balance. You have lit a flame that cannot be contained. From this day forward, you will be watched, hunted, feared. The human bowed his head slightly. So be it. I did not act for your approval. I acted for her. The child looked around at the vast chamber, at the hundreds of eyes upon her. For the first time, she did not shrink away. She stood straighter, her breath strong, her voice steady. I was nothing. You all told me so. But he showed me I was something. If one human could see that, maybe others can too. Her words carried out into the silence, reaching even those who wanted to deny her. The human placed a hand on her shoulder, pride in his eyes. You have more courage than the entire council. The trial ended without a final judgment. The council could not agree. The galaxy would decide for itself in whispers and stories, in rebellion and hope. As the human and the child left the chamber, crowds waited outside. Some jeered, calling them criminals, but others reached out, touching the air as if trying to feel the breath she breathed. The human looked at her and spoke quietly. Your life is no longer just your own. You are proof. You are the seed of change. The child's eyes widened. She whispered, will they come after us? Yes, he said. His voice was calm, but his gaze was sharp. But let them come. We will not run from truth. That night, under the stars, the child sat beside him. The sky stretched endless above them. She took a deep breath, filling her new lungs with air. It felt strong. It felt real. She smiled softly. I used to believe I was worthless. He looked at her, his voice gentle. And what do you believe now? Her eyes shone with quiet fire. That one life can change everything. The human nodded. Sometimes that's all it takes. Above them, the stars burned. The galaxy was vast, filled with laws and fear, but in that moment one child breathed. One human kept his promise, and a storm of hope began to spread. Because sometimes the worth of one life is enough to shake the universe.